This is Tanya Lynn with the Sistership Circle podcast. From spirituality, sexuality, and sisterhood to business, relationships, contribution, and creativity, the Sistership Circle podcast introduces a new model of feminine leadership where women get real and vulnerable about it all. Tune in for authentic advice that will empower you to be bold, beautiful, and brilliant as your true self. Hello, it's Tanya Lynn with the Sistership Circle podcast, and we have another amazing interview for our How to Lead Circle series with Christine Rydell, who is in Toronto. In Canada.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm near Toronto.
Near Toronto, yes. I'm so excited because Christine's been with us for a while now. She just did the last How to Lead Circle program, but has been with Sistership Circle for a while. And so, one of the things I love is how I learn new things about these amazing women when I get on these calls with them. And so I'm excited to dive in. So welcome, Christine. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you for having me.
So I want to hear, do you remember how you first found Sistership Circle?
Yes.
Yeah?
So, yes.
Stories. Okay.
So, I actually started following you years ago when you and your other partner at the time, I can't remember what her name was, started Tribal Truth. And so I know I was following along with all that and ended up sort of distancing myself at some point because most of the gatherings were out west, in California, and I'm all the way over here by Toronto, Canada. And so things just kind of took me away. And I spent the last 3 years going through an intensive high priestess process. And when going through that process, it became really clear to me that I really liked the sort of the facilitating, being in circle. I like that idea of being that bridge between the divine feminine and the divine masculine and women in the world. But I knew that even though I had experience in leading meditation circles and drumming circles and teaching other things, that I needed more of a structure because I'm a master channeler, and so I'm constantly just relying on that feminine aspect of channeling. But I knew I needed the structure. And so, sitting in meditation, your name came up. And I was like, I gotta find Tanya. I gotta see so I was looking for Tribal Truth, and it was just before Tribal Truth switched over into Sistership Circle, which was perfect because I was familiar with the Tribal Truth name. So it allowed me to find you easily. And I just knew that this is where I was being called to go. This was the next step in my calling. So thank you. Thank you for continuing to keep it going all these years so I could find you again.
Yay, yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I actually, again, I love hearing these stories because I had no idea that you knew me all the way back from 2011, 2010, right?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. And so, so you signed up for the How to Lead Circle program.
Yes.
And I'd love to hear about how that experience was for you and some of the big ahas or insights that you got, or even big breakthroughs during the program.
All right. Steve started to get emotional even as we go to talk about it. The How to Lead Circle program was so transformational for me. on a number of levels. One, just the perfection of the structure that you have put together, not just for leading circles, but that showed up in the program itself, that beautiful balance between, the feminine and the masculine, having space for us to, to dive down deep and to reflect, but also sort of having that structure, was so helpful and was so transformational for me to actually see, oh, this is how it's done, right? Meeting with all of the other sisters that were going through the program with me, and taking that deep dive with them was also really transformational for me, because one of my biggest ahas from the program was, all these years, as a result, I have like 40 some years of sexual, physical, and emotional abuse. And so the last 10 to 12 years, I've really been working on, healing my relationship with the masculine, and what was so profound in sitting in Sistership and going through the How to Lead program, Circle program, was the aha that the biggest wound actually that I've been carrying has been the wound around sisterhood. And just to have that awareness has it's changed everything. And including how I even show up in sistership to myself, if that makes sense. And so I've been able to begin to do the work to heal that, and being in that space, because the way that you've designed the program allows for us to really be open with each other and be vulnerable with each other. I was able to experience being open and vulnerable with women in ways that I realized I have never done in my lifetime. And I'm 53, I think, or 54, I don't know. All right. And so that was huge. So there was both the healing aspect of it, but then there was also the structured aspect. This is how you do it. And just being able to have the practice of doing it. The circle, I have a monthly closed circle that I've been leading. It's just gotten deeper and it's gotten richer. And when I first started with How to Lead Circle, I had thought in the new business that I'm starting, that circle would just be a sideline. It would be something that would complement. But I have to tell you, like, by the time we were finished How to Lead Circle, and just being in the facilitator tribe and being part of the circles there, I'm now beginning to, like, it's becoming clearer and clearer to me, like, how passionate I feel about circles, and that actually maybe my new business, circles aren't a sideline. Maybe they're actually like the main event, if that makes sense. So yeah, so that's just a snapshot of what I received from How to Lead the Circle program.
Thank you so much. There's so much for us to dive into. And I just want to first say the piece around the last part you said. I believe like it's like when we put circle aside as like sideline, yes, I mean that's one way of doing it, right? Like kind of you got your whatever you're doing and you're kind of doing the side gig. But circle's a way of life. And it's a way of showing up, right? And so it's about the integration, and I'm so glad that you really see that. There's a beautiful way that you can integrate the circle work into your business. And so it's not like this either or, but this, like, it's all encompassing. And what if the circle held your business? And to come from that place, I think is is more in alignment with like actually embodying the work, which is what the program is all about. And so for you to see that is just so amazing. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we dive a little bit more into the sister wound thing? Because I think what
Sure.
you said is really, really powerful of you've had sexual abuse. And so you thought maybe the wounding was around the masculine, but you saw it was actually with women. And so anything that you might want to open up and share about how you've been wounded by the feminine and what you discovered specifically would be amazing, I think, for a lot of women.
Absolutely. So what I began to realize in terms of that sistership wound was, like I've done a lot of healing and forgiveness work in terms of, the men who, either abused or raped me. And, but it never even occurred to me, like my sexual abuse started when I was 4 years old at the hands of a neighbor. And he had a younger sister who I was best friends with. And she would actually, if I was sleeping over there, she would actually encourage that interaction between him and I. And I gotta go through. And it never even occurred to me until we were doing that module in the How to Lead Circle program around that. Oh, sorry, my cat. That had affected me. Right? It's like I totally blocked that out, and I began to see how that wounding that sort of had taken place there had been this kind of kept repeating itself, with different women and in different scenarios. Like I had an issue with my mom where the same thing. It felt like there was a betrayal with girls in school, right? It was like, it would be that same thing. There would be this feeling of, I should be able to trust you, right? We should be able to have the same experience. And then being betrayed in some way. And that never even occurred to me. And at one point, I don't know if this will make sense, but at one point I even began to realize that it was even deeper. It wasn't just with other physical women, with other physical sisters, but there was a deep wounding in terms of the divine feminine, in terms of the goddess herself, and feeling like, like, where were you, or where have you been, or even sort of thinking of it's like, in terms of the goddess, that, I could only rely on her so much because she wasn't strong enough to really hold me. And then seeing that repeated in the relationships of with the women, right, where I was too much, right? I was too spiritual. I was, too this. I was too that. I was too, too out there. And then noticing, then also taking responsibility and noticing how, because of that, in relationships with women, which again seems so odd to me because I've always been called to work with women, but realizing that I've really only been allowing women in to a certain point. And then it's kind of like, you can see this much about me, right? I can be there for you, but I'm not going to let you be there for me. Does that make sense if I put it that way? And then feeling resentful when then, I would manifest, actually, okay, this time I'm going to ask for your assistance, and, and you're not going to be there for me, right? Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. So a couple things, what I'm hearing. First of all, thank you for your vulnerability and sharing that, because it's just
Yeah.
so beautiful. Um, and I think this is really so insightful of you to have this insight during the program. But if we're wanting to do women's work, and so what I'm hearing is like, you feel called to work with women, and we always want to do the work that we need for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, right? And so for us to hold circle, for us to work with women, we have to do our own work around wherever we're wounded from the feminine, from our mothers, from our sisters. And you did that work. And so you saying like, my circles are now like deeper and richer, it's because of that work that you did. And I think that this is one of the biggest things around the program. And it's just so simple in just the sharing, because I'm assuming that you had a lot of this insight just simply from the sharing that
Mm-hmm.
we're doing in the program.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting in circle as a leader, having your breakthroughs and these insights, so then you can truly be the embodiment and hold that space for other women.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that I really began noticing was just the degree of love I began to feel for first the women in the who were my circle in the How to Lead Circle program. Um, uh, Love unlike I've ever felt before. And then noticing, like even in when I held my circle on Wednesday night, right? I noticed by the end of it, right, I had that same feeling of love. And, and I'm connecting now as we're talking, during that circle, the women in the circle were more open and vulnerable than they have ever been. And I know that there's a connection between my being, just open and vulnerable with them, and then them being open and vulnerable. And then just that feeling of love that just like, I can't even begin to describe it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the work. We think so many women come into the program thinking that they need this training, right? Or like, I need to know these things about how to lead circle. But the most transformation and like the thing that we actually need is to have the experience ourselves, and that we lead by example. And that is why I love this program so much. And I hear over and over again about what it's doing is it's giving you the breakthroughs that you need to then embody the work, to then bring it, and have other women. Because that, it's like the more vulnerable you get, the more breakthroughs you have, you're creating the environment, because that's who you're being, that's who you are as the space holder. Then women could come in and also have that. And you got to do the work, which is what you did. So, so amazing. Yeah. Any other insights from the program? I mean, I think you covered it with structure, sisterhood wound.
Well, there is also just that familiarity and of the protocol, right? And of being in circle. The thing too about the program and the how you show up, every week, is that it really makes circle a part of your life, right? To the point where me and the women who were in our circle, I mean, we now have our own little private Facebook group, and we're scheduling a call for this coming Sunday. Like, we want to keep that going, and that having that sort of be a part of life, it makes it a lot easier in my mind, that when the program is over, it's almost like the what's the word? People give me the word. That called, right, to be in circle every week, like to have that fix, for lack of a better word, right, is kind of becomes then the push or the pull to actually go out there and start leading the circles myself, to move beyond the discomfort at, whatever the fear in the moment happens to be, because, for me, not doing it means I don't have circle. And that, I gotta go, Terry. For me, that's just not okay anymore, right? And I really, really do believe, having been through this program, the words that you say all the time is that this is the new way. Like, this is the answer, right? To so much. And I want to be a part of that, and I want to bring that to other women, right? What a magnificent way to spend the rest of my life. So, thank you.
Like I say, if you're leading circle, you've got to be in circle. So you got it. I mean, I've been doing this work for how many years? I literally have not. Okay, wait. I even say that the time I took a break from being in circle, like a circle for me, I'm like, no, actually, I don't even know if that actually occurred. But I believe, like, if I'm going to be leading circle, I need to be in circle as well. And I am. And you got that too. Like, you want to make sure that you're supported and you've got someone holding you and you're getting your cup filled, so that then you can go out there and serve others. And I think that's a big thing of the new model of feminine leadership. What you're talking about, the new model, is it's not about us going and like over giving and depleting ourselves. It's, we have to find the way of the feminine is finding that balance of giving and receiving, and making sure that we're always, our cup is overflowing. We're always coming from a place of abundance. And we cannot do that if, as leaders, we're not in circle ourselves. So the big question of who's holding you, that's what the How to Lead Circle provides. That's what the facilitator tribe provides. And so you just, yeah, you got it. You're a lifer now, huh?
I definitely am. And to the point where, like, I know when we've been sitting in circle in the facilitator tribe, you've heard me, talk about my struggles with my health issues. And because, I now have such a commitment to being there and showing up for women, and that commitment to myself, right, as a leader, I have been taking steps to address those health issues. And this is the first winter. I mean, I have been sick less this winter than I have in the last 52 winters, right? And even though, I struggled with migraines a couple of days this week, I showed up to circle. I led the pod call yesterday with the migraine. I led my circle Wednesday night with the migraine. And by the time I was finished circle, the migraines were gone, right?
Oh my God, I have a story about that as well, where I wasn't going to show up at my circle because I had a migraine, and my boyfriend at the time drove me there. He's like, no, you're going. You need this. And sure enough, my migraine was gone by the time I finished circle. It is so true. And there's so many studies of like the people who live the longest, like community is a huge part of that. And I love too, because I remember a lot of times where you had to miss some of those meetings because you were sick. And now it's like, no, wait a second. I could still show up not feeling 100% because I know that I'm going to get better from being in circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah.
And so happy to hear that your health is improving. And it's because you have more love and support and connection in your life because of these women. And that's what's so cool too, that you ladies are continuing to circle together even after the program ended. I mean, that's the bond that occurred during your program. It's so amazing.
Yeah, it's such a strong bond. And it's so beautiful to watch, as I know you get to do, every time you do this, it's just to watch, not only the changes and the transformations in myself, the increase in confidence and self-love, but to watch that take place and unfold and evolve, right? In the other women that I was in circle with, to be able to share their, both their doubts and their fears and their moments of anxiety, but then to be able to celebrate with them. Two from my group, just did led some first circles over the past weekend, and they rocked it, and it's just so amazing to be able to be part of that and to watch these beautiful women, these beautiful goddesses just unfold into the goddesses that they were born to be. So thank you, Tanya. And because you model that for us, and it opens that doorway to make it easier for the rest of us to do it. And because you have always been so open and honest about your journey, right? Like you've seen it all, you bought the t-shirt and you've donated it, like, right? That just, you are able to relay this information and to model it for us in a way that is unique and extremely powerful and very beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your experience and your stories, and hopefully inspiring other women, because the world needs us women to unite, to come together in circle, and most importantly to lead circle, because I believe there's more demand than there are leaders, and so we need more women to rise up into the leadership. So thank you for being one of those women, and thank you for inspiring others to do the same.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.